Welcome to Healthy Conversations, sharing the knowledge, experience, stories, and the wisdom of herbalists and other natural healers, with your host, Stephen Horn. Today's guest, David Tanner. Welcome to Healthy Conversations. I have back with me again my longtime friend and associate, David Tanner. We've worked together off and on for many years, and David is the owner and the operator of a company called Red Rock Naturals that makes some herbal and nutritional products here in Utah. And he's got a lot of experience working with minerals, including using minerals with herbal products. So, David, why don't you talk a little bit about the issue of the getting the minerals out of an herb when you're trying to extract it and use it? Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. That's such a great question, and it actually takes us back in history of quite a ways. Most people are familiar these days of the old alchemists, who were the real medicine people, uh, in many years past. Now, one of the things about these old alchemists, they were so in tune with nature that they knew how to communicate on a very intuitive level with plants and minerals. And so this information over time, excuse me, and through some experimentation was how they discovered there was a little bit of an issue that you were just talking about, Stephen, and that's getting the mineral salts out of the plant and available biologically to the system so that we can use it. And in that whole process, what they discovered that when the plant absorbs the minerals into its system, it goes through a conversion process and becomes a mineral salt. Now, the mineral salt is really the electromagnetic portion of the plant, and that's very valuable because that's how things really move through a living system is through the electromagnetic properties in the elements. But the problem that they ran into is they discovered that the salt would bond itself to the carbon molecule. So when they would process the herbs and get it down to a tincture and or a powder for consumption, that mineral salt was still bonded to the carbon material. Now the human body, especially today, the imbalances in the digestive tracts with most humans really isn't capable of separating that out, pulling all those valuable mineral salts away from that carbon molecule. So what they did
Well,
about it, yeah,
especially if you're
right,
low in hydrochloric acid, which a lot of people are, and you
right,
can't break down the protein and ionize the minerals back into an absorbable form.
correct, yeah. So they discovered what they could do about that is they took the if they were doing a liquid tincture, for instance, they would take the pulp left over where all the mineral salt was still sitting, bonded to that pulp, which is the carbon portion of the plant. And they discovered that if they burned it down to an ash, that ash contained, of course, burned off the carbon molecule. So now it becomes bioavailable. They'd take the ash, do a little filtration with it, and then add it back to the tincture, and that supersized the tincture as it will. It made it very powerful versus not having that mineral salt now bioavailable. So it was an
And isn't
ingenious
that called it's called the
spigyric. Yeah,
spigeric method,
spigyric.
right? Yeah.
Correct. So when we first opened up our first little lab, and that you and I were working together back then, I was all excited about doing the spagyric burn, and we were in a little commercial building that had several different shops in it. We were right in the middle, and it was an old restaurant. And of course, it had all the equipment in that we got so excited, a big stove and vent hoods and big sinks. And so we were really excited to get in there and get started. And of course, we were going to do the spagyric burn. And one day we had it going good, and the smoke went up through the vent hood and traveled down to the end of our little complex. A little gal down there had a cute little chocolate candy factory going on, and I smoked her out. So she
Oh
come running
dear.
down. Yeah, she was like, "What are you doing in here?" And of course, we shut it down. We explained ourselves, and she was pretty cool with us. So we learned in a big hurry that if you're going to do spagyrics, you've got to do it out and away from things. And so at that moment, we recognized that we weren't going to be able to do it there. We didn't know how to deal with it until I just got a little insight that just go back to our liquid trace minerals and add that to all of our tinctures. So we're getting a full spectrum of trace minerals in our tinctures that again makes it a much better formula without having to do that burn. Now, eventually, I'd like to be in a
Yeah,
location where we can do both. So
that
that
would
makes
be
a lot of
really
sense to
interesting.
me.
We also, our other friend and I had a technique where he would take the herb after you'd extracted it and boil it 3 times in water. I mean, bring it to a rolling boil
Yeah,
and heavily decoct it. And then he would basically simmer the water off until it basically was reduced down to about 5% of its original volume and add that back in. And that got a lot of those trace
that's
minerals back in there too. But that was a
right.
really time consuming, difficult
Right.
process to do.
Yeah. Yeah, both that team track process and the spagyric burn are very time consuming, and so if you're getting into any volume of product sales, it does create a little bit of an issue that way. So again, that was one of the reasons why we chose to take the regular 72 trace mineral complex and add it back into the formulas, and that seemed to really make a big difference for us.
What kind of results have you gotten with getting those trace minerals in with the herbs? What are you hearing back from people who use that?
Yeah, so first of all, those of our customers that experience both sides of it, they felt that the delivery system was quicker, which a trace mineral will do that. It will carry a nutrient down to the cell level for utilization much quicker than getting there on its own merit, through the regular biological processes. So quicker assimilation, and of course, when that happens, they get a better result all the way around. So we were convinced that it made, on percentage wise, I don't know if I could say, but we definitely consistently were getting better, quicker, more absorbable results with our product than without the trace mineral being in it. So it works. It
Right.
actually works as a great carrier, especially in a glycerite. Glycerin is really a great carrier to get nutrients to the cell level, as you know.
Yeah, I do. Well, so if people are wanting to, kind of apply this, how do you recommend them going about getting these minerals into their program? What would you
That's a good
suggest?
question, Stephen. Now, our intention is to get back to producing our own trace mineral, but that's a little bit bigger project with more equipment and getting the mine claims and so forth. So we do want to get back to it, and we can share a little later of some of the
Right.
experiments
Well,
we
you
did. That
you promised to take that you're going to take my wife and I to see some of these mineral deposits sometime.
yes,
So we're really
we
we're
definitely
holding
will.
you to that because I really
All
do
right,
want to go see this for myself.
yeah, you got it,
Yeah,
brother, and
maybe
this
we
is
can
warm
take a
enough
camera
too.
and
So,
let's talk just briefly about what I call herbal
oh,
minerals, which is
let me
a
just real
formula that
quickly just.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to
yeah.
say,
No, I'm
if
just
somebody needs minerals immediately, go to any health food store and just make sure that on the bottle it says that it has the fulvic humic acid in it. And usually, most of the
right,
trace minerals that are available today come from these deposits.
right, and use it. You can use it not only for yourself. You can give some to your pets, and you can
Yes,
use it in the garden to make your
yes,
garden and your plants grow better as well. Now, a midwife friend of ours, you remember Joan Patton?
yes.
Uh, she she called herself the real Mrs. America as kind of a joke because she was
Yeah,
somewhat
right.
overweight and really excellent midwife. She had helped deliver most of my kids. Uh, but we taught her how to make some glycerin extracts, and she made this formula that she called herbal calcium. And at that time, it was alfalfa, comfrey, oat straw, uh, horsetail, red raspberry leaf. And she accidentally, in making a batch, put in some yarrow, chamomile, peppermint, and dill. She was making another formula that had that, and she accidentally mixed them together. And then she decided it was a kind of a divine intervention. And so she started making a smaller amount of those herbs as kind of catalysts. And she started giving this to her pregnant women, pregnant mothers. And she said those who took it, it eliminated 90% of her complications during pregnancy. So we used to make it, and then comfrey kind of came under fire. And I tried substituting out borage, but then I realized borage also has pyrrolizine alkaloids and is questionable in modern society. So I finally settled on nettles. So the basic formula is alfalfa, nettles, horsetail, oat straw, and red raspberry leaf. And I don't know, I've had amazing results with that product. You make a version of, I think you call it Vitamins, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, and that's that original formula
Yeah.
that you did, that we did on your request.
Right. Yeah. So the formula's in the book, and he makes it for us. But, like just as an example, one of my sons at the age of 7 had all of his baby teeth. He hadn't lost any teeth, and we
Right.
took him to the dentist, and dentist said they were forming up there, but they had not dropped down. And I figured he must be mineral deficient. So I started giving him a teaspoon of the minerals every day. And in 6 weeks, he had lost 6 baby teeth, had one set of adult teeth all the way in, another set halfway in, and of course the other pair that he just lost. And I thought that was quite remarkable. And I had another woman who had a daughter who the dentist recommended braces, and she gave them the minerals and then some cod liver oil for the vitamins A and D that help assimilate, the calcium in the body. And she told me in 6 weeks, one of the teeth corrected itself completely, the other one halfway, just by getting the minerals. And this is one of the things that Dr. Weston Price found in going around the world and studying indigenous people. He found that the indigenous people had healthy teeth. They didn't need to have their wisdom teeth pulled. They had almost no cavities, no gum disease, healthy bones, joints, etc. And he found that they had 4 times more water-soluble vitamins, 10 times more fat-soluble vitamins, and 4 times more macro minerals than the people who were eating refined and processed foods. Now, he didn't look at trace minerals, but my guess is they probably had 10 to 15 to maybe even 20 times more trace minerals. And that's one of the things that we talk about this missing in this. And alfalfa, of course, is one of the herbs that's really good for trace minerals, because out here in Utah, where everything is brown, you see the alfalfa field and it's, stays quite green because the roots go so deep in the ground, it can pull up water and minerals that other plants don't get. And then nettles is a fantastic source of all kinds of minerals. But I've seen these minerals really, really help people with a lot of different things, with their bones, joints, skin, hair, nails. And I even had someone who had environmental allergies for a long time. And I tested that she was deficient in trace minerals. And of course, you need those minerals to operate all your liver enzymes and that sort of thing. But she was so hypersensitive, I actually had to dilute the trace minerals almost homeopathically to give them to her. But when I sent her a sample of the herbal minerals, the plant-based minerals, she liked it so much she drank, I think, I sent her an 8-ounce bottle, and I think she drank 2 ounces the first day. But she reported that from then on, her environmental allergies just plummeted.
Nice.
And I thought that was a very interesting story too. So I don't know, do you have any experience with people who've been using those particular things that you share?
Yeah, very, very much so. In fact, when we first started Red Rock Naturals and we were working closely at that time, there were quite a few of your clients that were familiar with your take on the vitamin type formula that Joan had created, and your version of it. And with us adding the full trace mineral complex with it, we got the same kind of interesting stories that you were just sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I tell you, this is a really good way to get the minerals, and where if you want to make, the, um, to make the recipe, it's in the Modern Herbal Dispensatory book. I would recommend that you also add the colloidal minerals in it, or you can, check out Dave's
Sure.
Red Rock Naturals. Just a second. My wife just came in and slammed the door. And so I need to go back a little bit
Okay.
because it really picks up on the mic.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back. I'm not sure where she came in. Okay. Let's go back here and say so anyway, I have had great experience with that particular formula like you have. And so if people want to use the recipe in the Modern Herbal Dispensatory, then they could add a little of the colloidal minerals, or they could get your product where you've already added it in. But we've had some really good results with people who need the minerals to get their everything to work better.
Yeah, in fact,
I,
even
I,
on a personal level, I've used it to accelerate the healing process, like for bruised and cracked ribs, for a sprained ankle, or things like that. It's good for injury recovery.
yeah, it very much is. So anyway, I also want to just tell people that I've had far better experience with people getting minerals from plants than I have from the mineral supplements that are commonly sold, because the minerals in the form that they are in most mineral supplements are not very efficiently absorbed, especially if you have hydrochloric acid deficiency, which a lot of people in our society do. And that, I think I've heard like maybe 10, 20, most 25% absorption. Whereas I think the minerals from the plants are much more easily absorbed than the minerals from the mineral supplements. So,
Yeah.
Dave, thank you very much for being with us today. If you'd like to get a hold of Dave, check out the links below. And we appreciate your time and sharing with us again the importance of these minerals to our health.
My pleasure, Stephen. Thank you.
Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to catch future episodes of Healthy Conversations. Help us educate others by sharing this video, and please feel free to share your own thoughts, comments, and questions below. To learn more, check out the links below.